David's Saturday AI Thoughts, Episode 2, 28th of February 2026, The 100 Small Things. A story caught my eye in Japan this week. A small fishing town called Minato has run a senryu poetry competition for 20 years. Senryu is a verse form about human nature, wry, observational, personal. This month they cancelled it permanently, not because entries dried up, because they converged. Identical patterns, identical punchlines, identical phrasing. Everything sounded the same. The problem wasn't that people used AI, it was that they used AI and stopped there. A language model returns the most probable answer, not the most distinctive, not the most human, the most average. Do that 100 times and you get 100 versions of the same poem. That distinction, that AI alone produces sameness, while AI plus human steering produces something better than either, matters enormously for work, but not where most people look for it. Everyone talks about the strategy deck built in 10 minutes, the agent that automated a research pipeline overnight. Those things happen. But they're rare events in any job. They're not where most of the value sits. The value sits in the 100 small things a day that gets slightly elevated, a slightly better meeting prep, a slightly cleaner first draft, a slightly faster scan of a long document to find the one paragraph that matters. None of these would make a headline, but do it 100 times a day and it compounds into something transformative. I know this because I live it. Every day, my meeting transcripts get processed into a 5-paragraph reflection. My calendar prep happens automatically. Research starts with an AI scan before I decide where to go deeper. None of this is impressive on its own. All of it adds up to something that feels, week by week, fundamentally different from how I worked 12 months ago. The problem is that firms can't see it. They track big projects. We automated contract review, saving 400 hours per quarter. They don't track slightly better email subject lines across 200 people. Last week I mentioned the survey that found 69% of firms use AI and 80% report zero measurable impact. I believe both numbers. The gains are real but distributed so thinly they vanish into the noise of normal work. And even where gains are visible, organizational structures absorb them. One of my co-founders calls this the extra hour problem. Give a team an extra hour and nothing changes. Give them an extra person and everything adjusts. AI is being deployed like the extra hour into structures that weren't designed to capture it. The poetry contest has a second lesson. The organizers could have redesigned the competition, rewarded the most distinctive voice amplified by technology. Instead, they retreated, killed it entirely. Organizations do the same thing. AI creates a problem and the instinct is to pull back, restrict access, add approval layers. The alternative is redesign. If execution takes hours instead of days, move the review cadence to match. If first drafts arrive better, raise the bar for what finished means. A poetry contest in a Japanese fishing town tells you everything about where AI adoption stands right now. The technology works. That's not the question anymore. The question is whether you retreat from what it changes or redesign around it. The organizations pulling ahead aren't chasing one dramatic win. They're compounding 100 small elevations a day, each one shaped by a human hand. That's harder to measure, harder to put in a board deck, but it's where the value actually lives. Here are 3 things worth knowing this week. Number 1, a fiction worth reading, honestly. Citrini Research published a scenario memo set in June 2028, looking back at a crisis that hasn't happened yet. The central argument, when AI makes expertise cheap to produce, clients stop buying it. I think this applies equally to strategy decks, competitive analysis, and market research. Work that used to justify 5-figure invoices starts getting done in-house by someone with a subscription and 30 minutes. Clients don't fire their agencies, they just renegotiate, armed with a clearer sense of what the work actually costs to produce. The sharpest line I've read this year: we had overestimated the value of human relationships. Turns out that a lot of what people called relationships was simply friction with a friendly face. Worth reading as a stress test for anyone who sells expertise for a living. Number 2. The floor collapsed under junior roles. Jack Dorsey cut Block, his payments company, from 10,000 people to under 6,000. Not because the business was struggling, gross profit grew 24%. The stock jumped 20%. Dorsey was unusually direct about why. The intelligence tools we're creating and using, paired with smaller and flatter teams, fundamentally change what it means to build and run a company. Hours later, several founders from Y Combinator, Silicon Valley's most influential startup program, told investor Jeff Feng they're planning to eliminate all engineers below senior level. The pattern: senior people who can steer AI are becoming more valuable. Junior people whose work AI can approximate are harder to justify. The market confirmed it instantly, valuing each eliminated Block role at roughly $1.5 million in added enterprise value. If you run a team, count how many people do work that a senior person with good AI tools could now do themselves. That's the number your board will eventually ask about. I believe junior people with AI are more valuable than ever, but articulating that in terms that survive a headcount review is a challenge we all have to address. Number 3, the model matters less, the application matters more. Google's Gemini 3.1 Pro scored 77.1% on ARC AGI-2, a reasoning benchmark designed to test abstract problem solving, more than double its predecessor's score 3 months earlier, while holding API prices flat. Meanwhile, composite evaluations show OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google clustered tightly at the top. 6 months ago, picking the right AI model felt very important. Model choice now matters less. Models are converging so fast that any advantage evaporates before you've finished onboarding. What hasn't converged is the application layer: ChatGPT, Claude. Code each wraps similar intelligence in very different interfaces and workflows. Pick based on the problem and the workflow. The model underneath will be fine.
3 things to try. Run your day through AI at 6 in the evening. At the end of each day, take whatever you captured, meeting notes, voice recordings, emails, and ask Claude for a 5-paragraph reflection. Not a summary, a reflection. I've been doing this daily for months. The output compounds. You start noticing patterns you'd never have seen without the habit. This is the senryu lesson in reverse. The raw material is irreducibly yours. AI helps you see the shape of it. That's human steering at its most practical. Before you build training, check the settings menu. Most people never change the default model on AI platforms. Before investing in an elaborate training program, walk up to 5 people in your organization and ask 2 questions. Which AI model are you using, and have you changed anything in the settings? The answers will tell you more about your organization's AI maturity than any survey. If your people haven't opened the settings menu, the barrier isn't skill. It's something simpler. Nobody showed them it was there. Push record, think aloud, send it to AI. When someone has stories they want to capture but can't easily write, skip the blank page. Push record while doing actual work. Don't write, don't perform, just think aloud. Send the raw recording to a transcription tool, then run the transcript through Claude. The stories that would otherwise stay untold because the effort of writing them was too high get captured without friction. I've seen this work for client case studies, internal knowledge sharing, and personal reflection. The raw material is human. The refinement is machine. That's the order that works.
What readers said. Last week's edition struck a nerve. More than 100 readers wrote back, most pulling on the same thread: the gap between what individuals can now do with AI and what their organizations will permit. An executive from a media company has been ignoring their organization's AI policies to enable their team's experimentation. A professional services exec argued that accelerating existing processes without redesigning them is premature optimization. And a director at another major media company is formalizing a champions network, exactly the back your misfits approach from last week.
That's it for David's Saturday AI Thoughts this week. This is a faithful reading of the email edition. The full written version with all the links and sources, full reader letters, and links they shared is at stedman.ai. Thanks for listening.